Flexing ain't discreet about it. Extra, extra read about it. Say you wanna beef about it. We gon' come and see about it. Flexing ain't discreet about it. Extra, extra read about it. Say you wanna beef about it. Find out nothing sweet about it. Flexing ain't discreet about it. Extra, extra read about it. Say you wanna beef about it. We gon' come and see about it. Flexing ain't discreet about it. Extra, extra read about it. Say you wanna beef about it. Find out nothing sweet about it. Look, mile like 3-6 pulled up ski trip code.
We doing it, B.Woods on the Mic podcast, and I got my boy, my guy. This man has given so much to so many people in the radio game, in LA, in the music industry. Just a hero, man. And the dope thing about this guy is just a genuine person in the business. A lot of times you get a lot of people are just so fake, so phony, so many generic things that we've all heard before. But this guy, he's transitioned so many people's lives and made a huge difference. Big up to my guy, Chris Loos. Double salute, my guy.
Hey, man. Appreciate you, B. That was a dope introduction, man. I appreciate all of that, man. Thank you.
Absolutely, man. And so, man, I'm just happy to see you, because it's just like a lot of times we just don't get a chance to even just see each other. Everybody just running around, bro.
Bro, between texting, right? And just texting, call here and there, catch up, or try to catch up in between whatever. I feel you, man. It's great to see you, bro. Real good to see you
too, man. And it's just like, the reason why I even do this is because I just want to tell everybody stories. I know the whole cliche of just giving everyone their flowers and that whole thing, it becomes cliche, but it's real. And I think it's important to kind of like tell the story of just not just like the music, but the West Coast, the music game too, and just like the radio influence and the journey, because I think all these stories make a huge difference in the way that we kind of see things, man. And I think your story is absolutely incredible. So I want to definitely get an opportunity to tell it, man. So like Chris, so first of all, for those that don't know who you are, kind of give them a background of like the broad sense of your journey, and then we're gonna take it back a little bit.
Yeah. Man, first, there's a lot of people that don't know who I am, B. But you know what I'm saying? We out here, dog. You know what I'm saying? A few that do. I mean, shoot, take it back to where, man? Where you want to start from? Because, you know,
let's start like, so Chris, you've been an on-air personality in LA for over 20 years. You're doing your thing at Apple, hosting. You did so many different things. So we're gonna take it back, like, let's take it back, because the first radio station that you started at was PCC, right?
First radio station, yeah, that would be KPCC. Let me get that right. It's not KPCC. That was the big one on campus, which is still there. It's the NPR network. It was the 88.3. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was the off one that basically hit all of Pasadena. So it covered like Pasadena, maybe a little bit in Arcadia, but just like that area. So it was pretty much just a kind of forgotten about studio down at the bottom of this building. I was going to class over there. I really wanted to go like for film to direct. So that was like the vision was like, all right, I'm gonna direct. And I was doing it, but I love music, man. Music always just been that thing. So radio, I didn't know what I was trying to do, to be real. Like, I had already flunked out of Citrus Junior College by this point. So I'm like, all right, man, communications. I listen to Theo on the radio, you know what I mean? Like, he's cool. Film is dope. I love Spike Lee. So it was like, all right, maybe something in this area, right? Like, I don't sing, I don't rap, so I can't get into music on that side.
Right.
But it was just like, where do I fit? And then that was kind of a PCC, and shout out to anybody who's going to a junior college that doesn't know what they're doing. Like, just try stuff. Like, you might flunk out like I did, but you're gonna end up.
I think we all did. I got my flunking days. I remember I was at Santa Monica College and I was running the little radio station department or whatever. I was straight on academic probation, and I was failing out. And I remember they had like Maxine Waters and all these city council people for me to talk to on behalf of the radio station, and then. And then I was in my mind, I'm like, I'm really flunking out this motherfucker right now. And they having me make very crucial decisions about the well-being of the station, and my shit was fucked up. So for anybody out there, you can flunk out too and be somebody. Damn it.
It is, man. Like, but you know, I learned so much because it's like you can't, like, by losing, you can't nobody keep losing. It don't feel good. Like, and then you might catch an L, and your ego can kind of like compensate, right, for the L here and there. But over time, you like, hey man, like I gotta go to sleep with me at night, and
exactly,
this ain't feeling right. So big shout out to Professor Doug Johnson, who was over there and just kind of saw the hunger in me to try to be on the radio, since I didn't really have a door over there at KPCC to knock on. Or
what does that even look like? So like you go to campus, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You have this drive to be on the radio.
Yeah.
So what was that experience? What was like the specific story that, like, what happened? Like, how did they give you an opportunity, and what did they see in you?
Yeah, so it was just we're taking the classes. It was kind of in the radio production class. I want to say there was this Professor Wright, super old school gentleman who was really kind of more from the voice acting and, like, you know what I mean, world.
Right.
But really just taught you a lot about how to deliver emotion in your words and in your delivery as you talk, or how you read, right? How you can read something and how to mark it up. So that was cool. So I was just really taking classes, man. Like, it wasn't, I didn't know, you know what I mean? Like what the end result looked like or what I even wanted it to be. Right. So I was just kind of in those classes. So it was through that process of taking those classes and just being curious and, you know, building a rapport with the professor to where we're learning about old school, like carts and like reel to reel and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so
super old school.
Yeah, super old school. And I'm like, and so it was like, okay, cool. But then I started interning. I took an internship at Kiss FM, and then I'm like, they don't use any of this stuff that we doing. So they were like, oh, well, what are you doing? And so that was just the conversation, you know, with my professor that led to like, well, we have this old you know what I mean? And it was just kind of as casual as that. Like, we have this facility down here. Nobody's using it, you know, but you would need to run it. And I was like, okay, I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm just saying, okay, like, you know, which that's probably something I don't emphasize enough, like the power of just being open to stuff. You know what I mean? Like, and that was for sure it, I want to say, because me just saying, okay. And then he delivered his part of like, all right, well, come on in, let's set it up, you know, and that's how we got it on. And then there were people that were interested, like my buddy Jose was into dance music. Mm-hmm. And I remember this other girl who was super into rock music. Like, it was like K-Rock. And there was another one in LA, Y107. That was like kind of like trying to mess with K-Rock at that time. Before like the whole genre of rock just got old. But it was like, so I just kind of was like, all right, man, well, you do your dance show, I'll do a hip hop show, you do a rock show. And it was just
what was the first shift like? So your first time on the radio, you press the on air button. What's that like?
What's it like? It's a guy that's a young dude trying to be cool beyond the coolest cat that you could imagine. I'm over here trying to slow jam Theo out of his like, it was probably the worst thing ever. If I was on the other side listening to me, I'd have been like, bro, what is this guy talking about? Like,
and then for like, because I never knew, like, because we go back and so it's just like stylistically, like you be on the radio, so obviously you're listening to Theo, you listen to these cats on the beat, like, who did you want to kind of frame yourself around, and how did you want your voice to be?
That's a great question. I didn't know. And so I think that was the problem. And that was where it was trying to be like Theo. So what was probably coming through the speaker was a real terrible knockoff of Theo.
Okay. You know what I'm saying? You wanted to be sexy slow jams guy.
Right. Right. Like, I'm trying to sit here and talk to everybody famous with the cool. And I call my show the Urban Lounge, you know, real vibey and the lounge. So, you know, it was just way too much, man. But I think through my time of it, you just kind of start having fun. And then more than me, I still weird out when I hear my voice. So it was really just more like I played way more music. And I had all the fire music because now by that time I was interning at the Beat. So I was getting clean edits of joints. You know what I'm saying? Like,
so let's go there because we can't just jump into that. So at the time, so we got to take it back because you hit a couple big major stations, and so like Kiss FM is one of the biggest stations, that like Heritage Station, and the Beat, the foundation of like a lot of hip hop. And I think that story really hasn't been told. So you're at a community college, you're doing your thing, you're trying to sound like Theo.
100%.
And then at a certain point, you're like, okay, you're listening to, at this point, there is no internet, there is no social media. And this is like, I would consider like the Lakers of radio, right?
Yeah.
So the biggest market. So what gives you the confidence to, one, approach this station, and two, what was the process of getting there? Like what was
to
that?
The Beat?
Yeah, to the Beat.
Getting to the Beat. So that was me being at Pasadena City College.
Right.
And just going to classes and taking classes and meeting this dude named Tawala.
Tawala, another name I've heard of many times.
Yo, so Tawala Sharp, man, my guy. Like he just met him, cool brother. And he was just like, all right, man, it was just love. We just both shared the passion for music. And he was interning with, he was Julio G's night show producer at the time.
Okay.
And that's when I was like, yo, you at the Beat? Like, yo, like that's fire, dude. I'm over here at Kiss FM. But then it was just respect. Like, you know what I mean? Like, okay, man, he over here trying to get it too. Like, I'm over here doing this night show thing, you know, boom, boom, boom. So that kind of really led to him growing into a new position in the music department and being like, well, look, man, it's an opportunity. I don't know what it could be, but, you know, you should intern and see what's up. All right, cool. So that was the, how do I get a second internship? Because PCC didn't allow you to intern again.
Right.
So that's where I had to do what, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's probably been years enough now to where it don't matter, but I just had to just do the okey doke with some paperwork to work for free.
Oh no, you don't want the radio police to come after you, my nigga. Like they just like some Jason Bourne shit, just fly to nowhere, take away all your.
You see how I looked around, like before I said it, just the nerves. But yeah, man, I just had to. And so I'm like, it can't be that wrong, Chris. You doing this to work for free, like, you know what I'm saying? So got the internship over there. That was really working with Kevin Nash. So.
Okay.
And that was, and I love Kev, but Kev,
so when you say, and when you say working, what specifically were you doing?
Yeah, that's a great, let me clarify working with. So
yeah,
I was interning.
Wait, so let's even go back from there, right?
Okay.
So you get the green light.
Mm-hmm.
What's the emotions like? You get the green light to come to the Beat.
I'm hyped. I'm so hyped. Just being in that building. I remember it was Street Soldiers was the name of the show that they were running from another city. And I was there with Tawala as they were running the board for this show.
Okay.
So I'm just looking at the board like, yo, this is where all these cats be rocking from. Like, it was just, yo, that was, I can still be, like, I could see that right now, like, as I'm telling you. Like, and you know, the view from that corner studio, you just looking out across LA, it was evening, the lights is bright. Like, I'm here off of La Brea and Wilshire. Like, yo, I'm at the station that I listen to. I don't know what's about to happen, but I'm in here. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right. And it's that feeling because the energy, I remember my first day at the Beat, it was the same thing. It was just, you walk into, it was a different energy that you felt, you know? And as soon as you walk, because you're in the lobby, and when you walk into the actual doors of the station, it felt like, I'm about to nerd out, right? It felt like you go into some Stranger Things, Narnia type shit. Like, you felt it. There was an energy that was different once you walk through those doors. So you're there, it's kind of this surreal experience. And then how do you float into like what becomes this working position? What happens?
Yeah, yo, that's so interesting. Because like you saying that, that sounds fire. Walking through the front door, getting them feelings. I didn't go through the front door.
Oh, no.
Because I was there after hours, right?
Oh, wow.
So I went through around the other side where you had to go past the elevator on the other side by the bathrooms.
Yeah.
Go through that side door. So that's how I got brought through. So I didn't get the grand look.
Right.
But you still couldn't help the feeling of like knowing what building I'm in. I'm like, yo, this is that building. So that's dope. Like I never got that walkthrough experience because I was always coming until like meeting Stephanie, the receptionist, and being like then hanging out at the front. But I'm like, I never was at the front. So I didn't get the magical piece to that, which now as you said it, I'm like, dang, okay, yeah, that's a different,
Yeah, it's a different look. It's a whole different look. So you went to Walla, you looking around. Now how do you find out about your position and what do you start doing?
So he's like, look, so this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna help out Kevin Nash. You're gonna pull. So they were still on CDs at the time. There was the CD rack. So you go, here's the music log, look at the songs, go grab the songs, have that stacked up, that first hour of music ready for him as he comes in. So I would have it all right there to the side, grab his music, boom. I would try to even be flying, grab a couple of songs off that second hour for him, have everything ready to go. But Kev is just, man, Kev is the coolest, man. So he don't do other people. He does, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's him and his listeners.
And that's the biggest. And Kevin Nash, he's still like KGLH right now, right?
Yeah, he got his own like radio setup, accelerated radio. It's like he's doing radio 24 hours on his own too, I think, online.
Okay, dope. And Kev is like you said, he's the smoothest. And so when you first talked to Kev, what's that like, and how does he receive you?
It was cool. It was like, it was the vibe of like, all right, man, come on. You know what I'm saying? It was like, let's see what this kid got. Go over there, go into the little room and answer my phones. You know what I'm saying? Let me know who's calling. So it kind of grew as just answer the phones to just a cooler rapport with him.
Right. And that's the thing. So now you're at the station. Now you're at the station. This is the station. You're answering the phones, right? And Kevin is in this night beat. And so to give you kind of that picture, the night show is like the sexiest time and people are actually involved. And
10 to 2A.
Yep. Yeah. So what type of phone calls are you getting in the middle of the night? Are they throwing the panties? What's happening, Chris? Let us know.
This is where I'm like, oh man, the side of radio, right? You got no idea about where you're like, yo, these ladies are in love with this dude.
Right.
This is wild. Like, so that was where it was different, man. And then you start seeing and realizing who's listening to the radio at night, right? Like, you got late night truck drivers, you've got just wild women lounging, but then you've also got like late night gas station workers or coroner's office. You know what I'm saying? Just like, it's random, man. Like, it's super cool though, but that was fun. That was fun getting to like, start talking to people who listen to the radio, because it probably gave me a good understanding now as I'm thinking about it of like what they like, what they want, you know what I'm saying? Like why they're even calling. Like you start to get to figure that out.
And at this point, are you thinking to yourself, like, I want to be a jock? Or are you thinking like, I still want to be in production? What's your thought process at this point?
At this point, I know I want to be on air because I had a job opportunity at Kiss FM. They offered me a position in production. But I shout out to Tony Sanchez. I was just like, man, Tony, respectfully, I was like, I appreciate this opportunity, but I got to finish up at PCC or my mom's going to be on my head. And I got to, you know what I'm saying? And I got to try to be on the air.
Right.
And so he was like, oh man, cool, Chris. Well, and it's great that our paths crossed again, you know what I'm saying? Like later at Hot, but yeah, so I knew I wanted to be on the air with Kev and that internship. It was just a good, bird's eye view of how this place runs.
Right.
Which was great. And then it was starting to come to its end. And as that was happening, that's when Tawala was transitioning to his new position in the music department. and Julio G was gonna need a show producer.
There we go. And that's when it all, that's, and shout out to Julio G, super OG, and I want to get him on here too. And so, and you and Julio's relationship was insane. So I definitely want to, I got to dive into that. So now, so were you listening to Julio before you got on the air?
Oh yeah, for sure. I was, because Julio was just playing fire music. You know what I'm saying? And I remember him from listening to KDAY, 1580 KDAY with my big cousin. So I'm aware of what he did, you know what I'm saying, on them turntables, him and Tony G and the rest of the KDAY Mixmaster. So I knew who he was to music at that moment, you know what I'm saying, and the Ruthless Radio Show. So I was like, I didn't know, you know what I'm saying? I didn't know how he's gonna, like, man, I'm a shy dude. And I was like, all right, man, this guy gonna be like, all right, he's on it. He's killing, he been doing this. Like, I don't know. And it wasn't anything certain about it. It was basically kind of presented to me like, all right, look, just do what you're doing with Kev, have that, you don't have to get him his music and just be cool. And we're gonna ride this for a couple of weeks. And if he rocks with you and likes you, you could get the gig. But it's all contingent on him liking me.
Gotcha.
It was 100% that.
Okay, so let's go back in time. First day, you walk through the door, you gotta say, "What up, who Jeezy?" Tell me, how does that go?
Yeah. I remember he walked in. Tawala had introduced us. You know what I'm saying? Like, Tawala really walked me in great, man. Like, shout out to T. Like, he really prepared me for that seat. You know what I'm saying? He showed me what he does, how he does what he does, all of that for the show. So I kind of knew, all right, Chris, this is what you got to do. You know what I'm saying? When you come in here, look at the music log, get his music. There was stuff for like the 9 o'clock bomb where we were writing songs down or stuff like that. So he kind of set it up. You know what I mean? So where at least I knew a couple things of what to do. But here's where I was like, okay, I rock with this dude already. Cause I you know, like with Kev, I'm studio, I'm going into the little booth and I'm gonna answer the phone in the mix room, right?
Right.
With this, he was like, Julio was like, oh no, you can sit right here, man. Just sit over here. And so I was like, oh, in the room? Like, okay. So I'm sitting across, right, in the corner right there, so I could answer the phones from right there. He was just like, hey, just keep it down while you talking. You know what I'm saying? Because he's answering phones on his side as well. So I was like, okay, cool. But that was it, yo. Like, getting to sit bird's eye with, I mean, in my, like, gosh, yo, like, I can't think of a personality at that time for West Coast hip hop that was more influential, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was that. He was it. And so it's like,
and that's the biggest thing, because like Julio, he's that guy, and now you're sitting with him. And so tell me, how does the relationship build? Because you guys are super, super close. So now you start off, you're the new guy in the office, and it's hard to be the new. It's hard at the beat. It was a hard situation to be, because you're coming into a family established already. So every job they have, that whether you working at LA Fitness or whatever, you always coming in and everybody got their clicks or whatever. So now you're doing this on a bigger scale. So how does the relationship with you and Julio develop?
Yo, it was cool, man. I think Julio just saw, I was like, I'm a worker, bro. Like, I'm gonna get in here, I'm gonna work. Like, I'm gonna make it, so you don't want to let me go. Like, that's just always been my thing. Like, I'm gonna be here, and nah, ain't no one gonna outwork me, ain't no one gonna be better than me at what I did. So I found every way I could to be dope, whether that was editing and cleaning music for him, because he was always having new joints. So it was like, when people would drive up to the station, sometimes they'll be handing him a CD as he's walking up at 6. And he's like, he'll hand it to me. Loosy, can you clean this up and have it ready for the 9 o'clock bomb? Yup. Go right into that room, make them edits for him. You know what I'm saying? And so it was, and which also caused mad beefs between the stations, because then the other station is hitting the record reps like, how is Julio playing this? Blah, 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 blah. Might y'all give him a clean? And they're like, we didn't give him a clean. They're like, well, he's playing it right now. And so it was like, the edge of that and what we were. So it's like now I became an asset to his show.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So that I think was just a big piece of what got his respect. Just straight up, like I'm not in here just floating. Like I'm trying to contribute to the show. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be a cool guy in here that's hanging out on the night show. It's like, you know, I'm in here like work whatever Mello needed when he came in the mix. You know what I'm saying? Make sure Mello's straight with the mix room. Like I just wanted to be that producer, man, that had the night everything smooth. I wanted these dudes to be able to do their thing well, because I see what I'm learning every night.
Absolutely. And this is the other thing too. And this is Julio will put you on the air. He would actually put you on the air. And this was I'm a Julio G fan. And what I noticed about the beat is like Theo, he didn't put anybody on the air. He definitely didn't put any of the producers. None of the full-time jocks put the actual producers on the air. And so I'm listening to Julio. This is me as a fan. I'm not even at the beat yet, right? And I'm at the 105 bus stop on La Cienega by the Beverly Centers, going back to the hood real quick.
Yeah.
And I'm just like listening, and he's just like, yo, Julio G. So what's up, Chris? What's going on? And he would have these conversations with you. And I would be so in my mind, because I wanted to be in radio. So he was like, so what's up, Chris? And I would listen, and I'd be so mad at you. I'd be like, man, Chris don't even sound good. Chris don't, why he keep tossing it to Chris? Chris don't even sound good. They need Julio. It's Julio's show. This is what on my Walkman. This is what I'm thinking. I'm like, I don't know why he keep talking to Chris. I don't even know why he keep talking to Chris. He need to be talking to me. I'm a nigga at the bus stop. I swear to God. And so I was just like, I would get so salty. I had the hater in me, my nigga. I had the hater in me. I was hating on you. I'm admitting it. And so this is like, and then it's so funny because years later, like, you my guy, you my brother. So like when Julio cracks the mic and says, hey, you can get on the air, or he just starts talking to you, like, what was that first experience like?
Wow, so nervous, yo. Like at first,
does he just toss it to you, or does he give you the heads up?
Nah, like that was another thing that I probably learned from him in what the art of radio, right? And what he was doing, like by just hitting the mic and tossing it to me, he's letting you at the bus stop know what's happening in this room. Who's Chris, or who's, you know what I'm saying? Like Mello, Eric, whoever you know what I'm saying? So you got this feeling like you're kind of peeking into this room, which was different. You know what I'm saying? Like you and I was listening to radio. It's like, hey, we got blah, 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 blah. And it was that type of DJ. And he was a mixer, like a turntable DJ. He wasn't a personality.
Right.
And that's where I was like, I think that's where him and I connected, because he was like, man, Loosy, just be you. Just be you.
Right.
Like,
so take me back. So he presses the button. So tell me about that.
So I think he had just asked me something mad random.
Okay.
And so it was like, it made it easy to answer, but then I was like, how far do he want me to go with this? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is his show. And I think that was, as I look back, like, I'm like, okay, I probably, even though it all worked out beautifully the way that it did, maybe I should have done more with every opportunity given, in hindsight. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you're talking about when he actually was talking to you on the radio?
Yeah, for sure. But it was like, he didn't want that either. You know what I'm saying? He just, I think it worked perfect, but it was just, man, I definitely, it was a lot of nerves, but then it became, how he did it made it uber conversational and just regular. So it didn't feel weird. And then he brought me and then he kind of really leveled me up, if you would, in running down the songs from the 9 o'clock bomb at the end.
Okay.
And so that's what it kind of like, I guess, would be my graduate. Like, all right, man, this dude can do a little something. When I throw it to him, I'll give him, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'll give him a little bit more.
Okay. And then what was the reaction because I mean, the beat was this station. So people hear you on the radio. What's the reaction, and how do you start feeling? Because we're taking it back. You at PCC, now you're on the beat. Julio G's talking to you on the air.
Yeah.
What's this doing to your confidence, and what's the response to your peers and your family and everybody?
Yeah, it was wild. It was wild because that's when you instantly know everybody that's listening to the beat, right? Like any of your friend, any of your people, you instantly know, oh, they listen. Because you don't know when you're sitting in the booth, you're in there, you're in it, but you don't know really who's listening and who's not. And yeah, I don't know how I felt, if I felt that like that. I probably, you know what, to be real, B, as you say that, I probably noticed it more from like slight haterism inside the building after that.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, cats is like, oh, he think he a little something because he talking on the radio now to Julio, like, you know what I mean? And I'm like,
and were you getting that energy from jocks, promotion people? Who was it?
Promotion people.
Okay.
Promotion people who wanted to have a voice on the station. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it was different though too at that moment. Like, bro, you know, being on the street team was like almost as good as being on the air for some. Like Corn Dog, I think of Pee-wee instantly off top. That took that. And man, rest in peace, man. Johnny D, R.I.P. that brother. Like
Johnny D, no
doubt. Like those people that I saw who took that call in, just that simple call in, to heights that was like, oh, what? Like you took street reporting to another space. Level.
Like it really did. It groomed the city of like the generationally to the next level of music, because everybody followed because the street teamers, because they were around that same age, and then they grew up older to probably the same people that are listening to KJLH now were listening to the call beat of back then. So they really made lifelong radio fans from those little call-ins and all that. So shout out to Pee-wee and all them. And so now you Julio, you doing your thing, and then how do you evolve in the station and you eventually get on air at the beat?
Well, was I on the air at the beat? So it was weird, man. My path over there like got shut down so much. Shout out to Michelle S., who was the program director at the first moment, that was gonna give me an opportunity to rock, and then she either left or got let go or something happened.
Right.
So I'm like, dang, all right. And then it went through this other brother named Michael Saunders, who came in as the PD. So my process of like trying to get on the air kind of started all over again when he got there. So it was, all right, man. So I'm cutting air checks, which was basically demo tapes, you know what I'm saying, of what we would sound like on the air, giving it to him, getting his feedback. But I'm not feeling the same type of, you know what I'm saying, camaraderie with him as it was with Michelle. It felt like she cared and was trying to help me. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay,
right.
He could do it. I didn't feel that with Michael Saunders, and he was cool. He was there for a while. As I felt like it started to develop, he got let go.
Oh, damn.
You feel what I'm saying? And I'm sitting there like, yo, all right, cool. And then in comes Harold, who was the program director before Michelle got there.
Got it, yeah.
Who's now come back around. So when he's getting there, it was cool, but it was different. Like, and now Julio's done his thing to where it's like, you know, the fight of corporate versus like creative. That was what was happening. So it was like, they're trying to tame Julio, and it's like, you can't do that. Like, let this man do what he does. Like, you can't. And so that was happening. And so it was like, okay, well, Chris knows how to run the board. Chris can do XYZ. So then KRS-One was coming in with, before that, Dominique DePrima and Street Science. She needed a board op. And so I stepped in and did that, which still to this day, like, that to me was probably the secret ingredient of that radio station that a lot of people disregard, was a community action department within a radio station.
No, I think it definitely, especially urban and especially around that time, because the streets were super, super active. You coming off riots maybe a few years prior. And like, if you're doing like a Kiss FM or a pop station, that shit don't really matter. For an urban station, that's really connected to the streets. And then one,
Yeah.
you don't really got too much Black talent there. But in order for you to be in these certain neighborhoods, like you need to be connected to the streets. Like they just think, oh, yeah. And the thing, if you're saying that you rep the community, you need somebody, you can't do that remotely. You just can't do that remotely. And the dope thing about Street Science, and shout out to Dominique, was that they physically went to these people, they developed the relationships. And so that's what almost gave them the pass, and they were doing the work. And the reflection of the station, because everybody from the community was at the radio station. Like all parts of the city was in the station, which made it dope. So yeah.
And that was the real key, which I kind of kept with me, was that secret sauce of that, because every station I've been at since that, it was always like, I'll host a community show, I'll do it, because I understood what that's doing. Like that's weaving you into the community. Like so these are the people that listen to you. Absolutely.
So you with KRS-One.
So so then KRS-One Temple of Hip Hop show comes up. He's doing it from there, and I'm running the board and kind of co-hosting or like on the air sometimes with him, right? He ended up getting, I believe, a situation for the label at Warner Brothers at that time.
Okay.
And then ended up, whatever it was, he needed to be in New York. And he told Harold, he was like, well, look, Loos can handle it. You know what I'm saying? Like, can he just rock with it? I'll tap in with him.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? When I'm out, and then when I'm back, you know what I mean? Like he can keep it moving. Like we know what the show is about, the music, you know what I mean? XYZ. And Harold was like, oh, no. It's not the Temple of Hip Hop with him. It's with you. And you know what I'm saying? But I could instantly see, I'm like, I ain't gonna fly here, man.
Yeah.
This ain't it. I've tapped out. Or I'm at the top of whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is it. Like,
so you say, hey, I want to go somewhere else at this point.
So so it was kind of like, that was the moment I just started getting my air check and like looking at trade magazines and seeing where they're hiring, and just started to send it out. I'm like, well, let me see, right? Put my resume together and send these CDs out. And it was like some station in like Michigan or Minnesota, somewhere cold, yo. I was like, I don't even entertain that one. And then Bakersfield reached out, and I was like, okay, that's up the way, you know what I mean? And that ended up being my first full-time gig.
No kidding. But you over there by the berries and all that good stuff, and you're in Bakersfield, and so you're actually living in Bakersfield now, from Pasadena, California, from sunshine to from nothing to just
the desert to the dust.
Yeah, and so what was your time like in Bakersfield? And don't remind me to ask you if you got any good Theo stories, because we gotta get some Theo stories in there too. So you're in Bakersfield.
Yo, Bakersfield was like my first. It was like my first time living on my own, right? So it's like, it's a lot of new woven into that, paying rent and car note, right? And all of that. So it's like understanding how to live now, on top of being in a space I had no idea. I ain't have family out there. I ain't never been out there, bro. Ever, B. I ain't never been to Bakersfield. I didn't know nothing about Bakersfield other than the Baker Boys.
Right.
And shout out, man, R.I.P., man, Frank. Him and his parents, Nick and Eric's parents, who had the record store out there. I used to spend time over there at the record shop, because those was like only people that I knew. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was just trying to figure out where I could get in. But I was just focused on trying to do radio well. It was weird because the PD made me change my name. He said Chris Loos was too urban.
What was your name?
So I had two options, yo. He gave me two options. You could be Chris Fields or Chris Knight. I'm like,
oh wow, both
like, bro, Chris Fields in Bakersfield, like this
sounds
is
like
super corny.
A bad superhero, aka Alien.
So needless to say, Chris Knight it was, which was just odd, yo. Like it was odd.
This is the question: do you still have the Chris Knight T-shirts?
Never got a T-shirt, but I must say this: I beat Art LeBeau in the ratings period, which was like the first time that station ever had like done that. and I had like a 22 share in the market or 24 share. It was something stupid. Like I was fired. And I was doing it, because I wasn't the slow jam dude. So I was doing it off of like being the homie. Right. So when girls would call and be like, hey, I just want to give a shout out to Baby Joker. It's been like 3 weeks and I haven't heard from him. So I just want him to know I love him. I'm like, hey, hold on. You said you ain't heard from him in 3 weeks? Yeah, that ain't your man no more.
Oh, you were doing them like that.
Yo, Baby Joker is somewhere else. He might be in Delano somewhere seeing somebody else, sweetheart. I don't think that's fun. No, don't say that. So it was like, you know what I'm saying? Like I was really having fun answering the phones, and you know what I'm saying? Like I didn't, because shout out to Julio and shout out to my PD in Bakersfield, Bob Lewis, who was like, do you want to be a slow jam jock forever? And I'm like, nah. He was like, well, then stop. And I'm like, but I host a slow jam show. He's like, yeah, but what does that sound like if you're not Mr. Cool Guy?
Right.
I'm like, oh. And that went right back to Julio, just be you. So it's like, all right, here we go.
Dope. That's dope. So now you killing it in Bakersfield. How do you make your way back to LA? What is that? What's that?
Yeah, that was literally me saying, well, first of all, man, like the PD that I was up there with in Bakersfield had a relationship, or has a relationship still, with Jimmy Steele, who at that time was the program director at Power 106.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, cool, I'll be here. But he was like, well, cool, be here, give me your best, and then I can put in a good word with you at, you know what I'm saying, over there at Power. So after the first year, I'm kind of in his ear, like, what's up? Is he, you know what I'm saying? Like, what's the word with Power? Like, should I start getting something together and this and that? And it was like, oh, well, just keep on, you know, and then it started to get dodgy with that. Then the money started to get funny and they weren't trying to give brother no raise. And it was like, yo, I'm here in dusty Bakersfield. Like, man, you got me out here.
Right.
Like, come on, man. Like, and so, yeah, B, that was a weird one, man. Cause it was like, at that moment, to be real, I was pretty cool with just wrapping it up and being like, all right, man, this radio thing, I'm good and I'm done. Because I left with no other radio gig in mind. Like I didn't have no other gig. And it was after that I came back and was doing sound in film with my cousin. My cousin did lighting. So I just started doing sound and I was like, all right, cool. And then it was Michelle S. from The Beat, was now the PD at Hot 92.3 here in LA, which was like the old school slow jam station at the time. So she was the one that hit me like, hey, Chris, like, you want to come over here? Like, it's a part-time gig, you know, overnights, boom, boom, boom. I'm like, all right, cool. And so that was that. So I was kind of doing both at the same time. Hold on, man, pause that.
Okay.
I got the story wrong. I come back while I'm doing sound for film. I go back to The Beat.
No kidding.
100.3 The Beat.
Was I there at the time or no?
Bro, were you there at that time? No, I don't think
this is your interview. That was a trick question. Don't worry about me.
Still there. Junebug, Doc, Mez, Chip. It was that crew.
Okay, I was probably there somewhere doing some shit I wasn't supposed to do. So now you back at The Beat. What was your title at The Beat?
Just promotion, street team.
Okay.
So I was just doing street team. But I was doing street team and I was working sound for film, right?
Okay.
So this was also that moment where The Beat was kind of going through changes, lots of different stuff happening. And I was working sound. I had like a crazy, I forget what, like it was a short film, I want to say, and we were shooting mad late, like late into early morning. And there was a morning show remote happening, right? So I had to get to the station by, I want to say like 5, yeah, probably like 5 or 4:30, something like that.
Okay.
Yo, I literally got off of the sound shoot at like 2 a.m. Went to the crib in Pasadena, took a shower, didn't sleep, and just skirted over to the beat, right? Because I'm like, let me get up in here early. And this was before I was even drinking coffee. I'm in the kitchen sipping on some water or something, just trying to wake myself up. Nobody's up there. It's dark, right? And in comes Steve Harvey, because he was doing mornings at the time.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
And so he walks in, he looks at me, he was like, young man. He was like, what you doing up this early? I was like, oh, man, what you doing up here this early? He was like, I was like, I'm here for your remote. I was like, but I just worked this other shift and came in. I just wanted to get in early. And he goes, man, come over here real quick. And you remember how the kitchen, right? You could see out that one side, right. The one window wall.
Right. He
was like, check this out, man. He was like, look out there. And you could see like a couple cars moving. You know what I'm saying? You saw like maybe a few lights on, just quiet, right? LA looking quiet. Because it's like 4:00 in the morning.
Right. And
he was like, here's why you gonna have it. Here's why you gonna be great. And I was like, yeah, what's up? He was like, because see, you're up when everybody else is sleeping. That's why you're gonna have what they don't have. And he was like, I'll see you in a few, young man. Yes, sir. He walked out, and I was like, up before everybody, getting it. Got it.
Life lesson from Steve Harvey.
It was the best. It was the best. I hope I genuinely hope I get to tell him, man, what that meant to me, because it was like, okay. And it made perfect sense. Perfect sense.
Right. Yeah, no, that makes a huge difference. Was he in his suit that day?
100%.
Okay.
You already know.
Shout out to Steve.
At 4 a.m.
4 a.m. in his suit. That's probably what I would have took from it. I would have been like, nigga, be in the suit at 4 a.m. You can't lose.
Yeah. He didn't have the coat on. I'd say they didn't have the coat on yet. But yeah, he was up there.
So you do the remote, you're at the beat, you're getting life lessons from Steve Harvey. Michelle S. At a certain point says, hey, I want you to be at Hot. Do you want to leave? Do you leave the beat with saying, hey, it's feeling good, or what's that like?
So I would the air at the beat. I'm like, I got some stripes under me now. I did my, had a full-time show, and it was Robert Scorpio that was over there. And that dude was he was the PD at the time. He had his team, Eric Kubici, K Sly, like he had his, like, this is my crew, right? I came in after the other, whatever.
Was Lala there at the time too?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So Lala's there too at the time. And yeah, he was like, I was trying to, give him air checks, this and that. And he was like, yeah, I don't know. And I just felt like no kind of connection. Like he had A1, he had his people. You know what I'm saying? Like he wasn't trying to rock with me at all. So it's like, all right, man, cool. And then Michelle reached out, and I was like, she asked me if I wanted to be on the air. And I was like, I'm trying to be on over here. She was like, well, I had this opportunity coming up, boom, boom, boom. And so I went in and saw him. And I'm like, hey, Scorp, I had this opportunity, man, but I really want to be on over here. But he gave me that look like, I ain't got nothing. It was that look. You know what I'm saying? It was like that I play poker. It's that look of like, you bluffing.
Yeah.
You bluffing.
Yeah.
You bluffing. You trying to come in here and you've been in there. I know what you're doing. You've been in there kicking this. I want to be on the air to me. Nah, you bluffing. And so I was like, is there any? And he was like, there's probably, and that's when I finally got there's probably not an opportunity for you here on the air, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. And so I think it was like the next day, or maybe I hit him with him that day. I wish I could remember how G I was. I'd like to think it was that moment, but I don't know. It might've been the next day where I went in and gave my 2 week. I was like, all right, man, well, I'm gonna be on my way. I appreciate the opportunity, or lack of, but I gotta go.
And you gotta keep it pushing. And that's how it is too, because a lot of times it's for a lot of different people that could have broke them. That where when you know you hear a program director say, you know, we don't got space for you, or you just want to keep on trucking and keep on pushing and saying at some point they're gonna allow me to do it. And for you to have the foresight to say like, all right, cool, I'm about to shake because it ain't nothing here. And you got to go to spaces where you're celebrated, because a lot of times you start to question your talents and saying like, yo, maybe I'm not talented enough, but it's your talents are dope. It's just that you're in the wrong space, and you can accelerate if you're in the right space. So now you in the right space. Michelle S is right there saying that you a champ, you a superstar. How does that process go at High?
Yeah, it was dope, man. It was a real like cool moment, because first of all, it was her, right? And that was someone who I've been air checking with since before my first full-time gig. So it was just felt great that she saw that in me. It was overnights that I was splitting, man. Ivan Ice, R.I.P. to the big homie, Ivan. Yeah.
Ivan.
Overnights. And then she got me the Sound Lab, my Friday night mix show, which was like the freestyle.
Yeah, that was dope.
Yeah, the freestyle reggae.
And I do remember those t-shirts. I don't remember the Chris Knight t-shirts.
Those I had a t-shirt.
Sound Lab t-shirts. I do remember those. I had a couple.
Yes, sir.
I was the king of getting some product.
Yeah,
I used the Sound Lab t-shirt for everything. You know what I'm saying? Mama had the Sound Lab t-shirt. Mama had a Sound Lab t-shirt.
Yeah, that was tight. No, that was love. That show did well too. You know, we were competing. Friday Night Flavors was huge, bro. Like Friday Night Flavors from Power in LA was it. And we were actually like hanging, dancing with them. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, that was fun. So that was a great opportunity. And then it looked like that was gonna be like a next level up for me here in LA, because Theo was doing afternoons at the time, and they were old school and R&B, but the word inside the building is they were trying to go more R&B, right? And not as old school heavy, slightly more R&B. And this is when Michelle was like, hey, so look, I don't know how much longer Theo's gonna be here. What you think? You think you'd be ready to level up and do afternoons, right? I'm like, yeah, for sure. Okay, cool. She was like, I don't want to promise you anything. I was like, I know the drill for sure. She was like, but just you know, keep doing what you're doing. Like this is I think the direction it's gonna go. I'm like, all right, bet. I'm hyped, B. Hype, bro. I'm over here like, let's go. It's about to go down. And then Theo gets let go, right? Like she had kind of said. I'm like, okay, here we go.
And Theo got let go at the beat.
At Hot.
At Hot. Okay, because Theo, I forgot that Theo made the transition to Hot and he was doing afternoons.
Yeah. So I don't know if he got let go or if he, you know what I'm saying, bounced on his own. I don't know. I don't remember. That's a big
part of history that people don't really remember, that Theo, because people think that Theo's radio career kind of ended at the beat, but he was doing afternoons at Hot. Okay.
And then he was at KDAY.
And he was at KDAY. That's a whole nother story. We'll go there too.
Yeah.
So Theo is about to leave. You're gonna replace him. So what happens?
So as I'm getting hyped, they let Michelle go. And I was like, oh, yo, what? And then enters this other dude, Mike Medina, as the new program director, who was like the PD when they were doing old school mega 100.3 old school. Yo, he came in, I could tell from the one over that he gave me like, okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, dang. I could see it. You know what I'm saying? That was the moment where I'm like, man, this writing on the wall is coming. And then enter the cat who heard my very first air check and gave me the introduction to the PD at Bakersfield, and it was Picasso.
Okay,
Picasso got a gig as the program director for a station that launched in the Inland Empire, Wild 96.
Okay.
And so that's when he was like, hey, do you want to come up? You know, I got this opportunity. You could do, I think it was like middays and production director. So I'm like, full-time here in Cali, IE? I don't know nothing about it. My auntie lives in Pomona. All right, let's go see. And yeah, man, and that was the next move over there.
That's insane, because so now you transform to the Inland Empire, and the IE, the only station that I knew of at the time was like KGGI, and so now you're at this new space, in this new place, and so what's the experience at Wild 96.1?
Yo, it's crazy, B. First of all, it's in Hemet. It ain't even like, it ain't regular IE. It's deep IE, like Hemet. I'm like, Hemet? Yo, I remember the first time I drove out there, I called him like, hey, man, I passed something, and am I still on the right way? He was like, oh, yeah, you got about another 30 minutes. I'm like, oh, dog.
Yeah, exactly. Because when you drive out there, because I've been out there, it's like it's like 7-Eleven, trees, strip club, 7-Eleven, trees, 7-Eleven, strip club, trees. Then you there. You there.
Oh, it was the law. I was like, man, where am I going? And it was in the super raw startup form. I'm talking like equipment looked like Atari. I'm like, yo, I don't know if this gonna make it, man. Like, they got a consultant over here, numbers dude pick, and some salespeople. I'm like, let's see, you know. And with that, no one was on the air yet. I think I was like cutting commercials, like join me at blah, blah, blah. And it's like, there's no one on the air, but I'm hosting events and stuff like that just to accommodate the bread that was coming into the sales side. Mm-hmm. So they got enough money to get the building in San Bernardino. And then we moved over there, set it up. That was cool because it was the first real station. I mean, I saw the college one from the dirty up, right? But this was like a real FM stick, you know, from computers on the floor and wires getting put in to studio getting built. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was cool to be a part of that whole process, man, in the beginning of that. Yeah, and then Pitt got let go. And it happened quick, yo. Like, right, we're in the new building, everything happened. And I want to say it was over a Nelly Shake Your Tail Feather record.
It's always a Nelly Shake Your Tail Feather record.
Like, I think it was some argument with him and the consultant over that. And yeah, and I don't know if he quit or whatever happened, and he was out. And they looked over and they were like, well, Chris, you want to be the program director? And I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. But I didn't know what I was doing, dog.
That's insane. And to me, this is the dope part of your story, because this is where it's a graduation point, right? Because you're from PCC as somebody that's trying to explore radio, to an intern, to a production person, to full-time, and you're powering away. And now you've made it because, one, you're not letting anybody step on your spirit, and two, you know your value and your worth. And now you're the program director of a radio station with zero experience. And so what happens next?
Yo, it was wild, because it was weird too, right? Because, Pick was hitting me like, hey man, I'm gonna be going to this other spot. And I'm like, hey man, like, if you bounce, dog, if you got a spot for me, I'll be out. I'll bounce. I'm a loyal dude, B. You know me. Like, yeah. I was like, all right, man, you got me here. If you got another gig, I'm out. I think it was a little bit of a beef that lasted for a while. Him and I are cool now, but I don't think he liked me for staying there. I don't think he right. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was weird, man. Because I had mad respect for him. Because I'm like, he gave me my first opportunity. He gave me this opportunity. But I'm a grown man that gotta feed myself. Like, I can't leave.
Right.
Just, all right, I'm out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I gotta eat. I came for a job. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's my guy all day, but it's like, I can't just leave.
Right.
So that was my first like weird moment, maybe like that. But then like it was it was kind of on after that. Be like, I had to learn. Obviously, I started hitting up friends that were program directors. Like, how do you work selector? How do I need to do this? But I was a production director, so I knew how that side ran. I've been in promotions. I knew how that side ran. So it's like, all right, I just needed to learn certain pieces, and now I know how this whole thing runs. You know what I mean? So
and just to kind of give context to what you're saying. So you talk about program director, you're talking about the person that literally programs the music. You make decisions on who's going to talk on the radio. You're like the CEO of this thing. And it's rare that in any position where you work in an IKEA, Rouse, or whatever, you get this job with zero experience. Like, you have your own experience as a jock, but now they put you like, you the guy, you're in charge now. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can only play Nelly, shake your tail feather so many times. You know, so you have to make decisions about all these things. And so, are you nervous? Or are you confidently in your space? Or what's your emotional state like at this point?
Oh, that's interesting, man. Maybe I'm so oblivious to certain things. Like, I didn't really see like anything except for let's go. Like, I was like, all right, well, I got to figure this out, got to figure that out. But then there was the other part of me that's like, well, they got salespeople that can sell, and they got this dude who's the consultant who's ill with numbers, right? So I'm like, I guess they just need the sauce. All right, I'm tapped in. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, I kind of understood, like, all right, well, go with what you know, right? Like, everything that I've learned now to that point was like, okay, get dope people that can host, get dope DJs that can rock stuff, find local people to plug them in. And then it was just like, fill the positions, and like, you know what I mean? And I've been on the air, so I know like what's crazy to ask of on air versus what's cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's different, I think, because my intern and every gig I had was that I was learning what each position did. So by the time I had that PD seat, it's like, I knew what I could ask people to do, or what's just crazy and, you know what I'm saying, not realistic to demand of people. Yeah, bro, that was when I was like, all right, B, you trying to get on the air? Come on out. You know what I'm saying? That's when it was like, everybody that I knew who I had rocked with.
And this is the part I think that is, you know, the big reason why, obviously you my guy or whatever, but this is the genius and this is the fabric of, like, when you say give people their flowers, like, a lot of times people don't know the people that you've given opportunities to, and your tree. So when you think about like coaching, if you're into the sports or whatever, like, you like the Greg Popovich tree or the Phil Jackson tree, and they're the ones that groom talent. Who were some of the people that you brought on at that particular station at the time?
Let's see. At that time, dang, so there was Noah was in there. Cecilia had came in. Cecilia was about to quit. And then I told her, I was like, man, put this letter away. Like, you got a lot to still do. You know what I'm saying? In radio. And then it was Ronnie. I think Ronnie, Vanya, was it V? I can't even remember all of them. B, it was you.
Yeah, I got that phone call. I was over there. Mm. Yeah.
Yo, and it was like, because for me, it was like, I know what needs to happen. So if I've seen people get down, and you know what I mean? And it's like, all right, cool. And you know, maybe I was cool. Like, I'm cool. It's just like, yo, man, can you do this? Cool. Handle that for me, and you and I is good. That's it.
Right. And
I think it's that easy.
And it was, and then you guys have big, and Bam was up there. Another one, and you guys were having big names come through. I remember you guys had like Rihanna come through, and these major talents come through to this little station in the IE, which was just
Chris Brown.
Mm-hmm. Who named some names? Who all came out?
Yeah, it was wild. Oh man, we had everybody, bro. Like, because if you think of that moment, it was like the Game's first album. I remember walking up to Bam to be like, I got the whole clean thing. Just play this on the show all night. Like, Yin Yang Twins at that time, 3-6 Mafia, Too Short, Paul Wall, Chameleonaire, Rick Ross. We had them all. It was yeah. But also too, there was KGGI out there. So anytime you know what I'm saying? So if a label was cutting through there, I knew that label too. You know what I'm saying? I knew the rep to be able to contact them, like bring them by. So yeah, it was great, man. I'll say this, like I think one of the funnest, one of my favorite hires, which was just so perfect for that time too, was a brother that I had never met, but in the goal of plugging into the hood here in the IE, man, it was this dude, Big D, who was just hosting every club in the IE. I'm like, all right, man, I don't know this brother. Let me see what I could, you know what I'm saying? Like, that was like the ultimate, like, let me bring my guy in, man, and see if he can rock this little mix show thing and have some fun.
And the thing, Big D was zero radio experience, and he would rock out the on-air shifts as if he was at the club, and some nights it'd be a disaster, and sometimes it'd be genius. But like you said, he did his thing. You know, and I love Big D. That's my guy.
Yo, and because I don't know, man. Like radio is a reflect, you know, the community, right? Like, so it's like I was like, the community gotta be here, man. We gotta have a hood here. We gotta have, and it was cool, man. I look at the staff, and I'm like, yo, we were so diverse. We had such a cool crew of like dope young DJs, and Ever and Seth and iRock, and like it was just tight, man. Like I think of the talent, man, through there, like. That was what I enjoyed about that time probably the most, was just being able to rock with that young energy. I remember the owner coming in, and he walked in, he looked around, because I think he was really there just checking up to be like, all right, man, we fired this guy, this other PD. What's this young dude doing? Mm-hmm. And I remember he shook my hand, but he was like, young man, there's an electricity in this building that's amazing. You keep doing what you're doing. And I'm like, all right, yes, sir. And I just bounced, because it was like we were about to have like a jock meeting or something like that. So everybody's there. And you know what that energy is like when you got the mixers there to host it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's there. And it's just like, it's just that, bro. Like you got a bunch of music geeks that's really pumped about this thing all hanging. Like, it was a great time, man. I think it was just.
The synergy was insane.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, no. I remember being in that building, and I love doing those. That was the saving grace of the drive to the IE, because I lived in LA, and so, but it was so much fun going there afterwards. You go to the club. The station was right by a strip club that I didn't go to because no, I'm lying. I went there. I think it was called Flesh. Flesh was right there. Shout out to Flesh. I think we shared the parking lot, you know what I'm saying? You can get a thigh, a rib, and a breast, and I ain't talking about chicken. Yeah. And it was just, the energy was dope. You go to the clubs, the vibe was dope, the music was dope. At the time, I was at doing a syndicated show with Valentine, so I would repurpose a lot of stuff to be on the air at Wild, so all the interviews and stuff. So it was just like everybody was kind of bringing their A game. So now we're at the Wild 96.1. And this is the story that I really wanted to get to also. It's like, so how did you get the transition from Wild 96.1, then it goes to KDAY? And what was your place in KDAY 93.5 here in Los Angeles from Wild 96.1?
Yeah, that was just a thought and an idea. B, I'll tell you, I remember we were in the room, it was a promotions director, the sales manager, and maybe one or two other people in the room. I think the consultant. And they were pumped on this dance station, right? Because there was Groove, was it Groove 103 or Groove something, right? That was like a dance station in LA that flopped. It didn't work, right? And I think the sales, yeah, for sure, the saleswoman, Kimberly, she had come from that station. So she was like, oh, we should do a dance station in LA. It'll be great. I have clients already that, you know what I'm saying? So it was kind of like that. And I was like, look, if y'all bring KDAY back, you'll shut it down. They were like, ooh. I was like, you gotta own them. But then the thing was own those call letters. You know what I'm saying? KDAY. Can you get that? That's gonna be the trick. And they did. They were able to get it. So yeah, man, that became that. And then it was like, well, Chris, how do we do it? And it was like, all right, like I remember I was like, I need Julio. I need my guy. You know what I'm saying? Like I need Julio there. And so they were like, okay, all right. And so that was it. So Julio was really like the only staff.
But let's not move past
when it was all kind of like
we can't move past this. So the reason why KDAY is in Los Angeles from what it was like, because KDAY was the first radio station, hip hop radio station here in LA. Obviously, you know, a heritage station is the first one. And so what we listen to now, 93.5 KDAY, to bring that station back, that was your idea to bring it back. That's big. That's huge. Yeah, that's huge. And for you,
it was wild, B.
Yeah, for you to be, that's a huge part, I think, of the culture and the synergy and hip hop. How do you? I mean, like, what do you feel like that's like is that like one of your bigger markers in terms of like your contribution to hip hop? Do you feel like that to bring that station back?
100%. It felt all the way right.
Okay.
Everything about it felt right to have Julio coming back, you know what I mean? And bring the dude who really gave me my opportunity on LA radio and who's a vet and a legend and deserves to be on here, right? Like original KDAY Mixmaster. How was he not going to be on here? Mm-hmm. I remember when we were inputting music, a lot of the music was from Julio's crates and my crates.
Right.
Straight up. Like that was how we were loading music in to the database, you know.
And so now you brought, so so when they actually sign off on this, did you think they were going to sign off on this, or were you hesitant that they were going to go to this dance thing? And when they actually do it, like where are you at? Like, what are you thinking about? Like,
it was a lot because there was a different conversation that happened with me and the owner to where he asked me what I thought about it, right? When he was going to purchase it. Yo, he bought the thing for like my numbers might be off, but I think it was close to $120 million, right? Now, mind you, I think he had bought the station Wild for like, let's say 12, sold it for about 36 million, right? Put that then into KDAY. And he asked me, what did I think? And I'm like, it doesn't make sense, sir. Respectfully, like, that's a bad investment. I don't know if you ever like, what are you going to sell it for? 200 million one day? 300? Like, how do you get your, you know what I'm saying? Like, how does that happen for a radio station? And he was like, well, I don't plan on leaving. Okay. You know what I mean? So it was like, cool. But this gentleman wasn't prepared for that. You know, so we went in and we did it. We did what we do, right, from our side. But this is where no matter how dope talent is, if the business of something ain't right, it's going to struggle. And then you start listening to all kind of other people, which then they talk to the consultant. The consultant wanted to bring in this dude, was it Rico's Playhouse or something like that, to do mornings. And I'm like, yo, what are you talking about? They're like, oh, well, the deal's already done. He's going to be, and I'm like, on KDAY? Oh, he's good. He's mainstream, blah, 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 mass bill. I'm like, so this is already, you see what I'm saying? It was weird because it's like, I didn't get to thoroughly do it all, you know what I mean? Right from jump the right way. But they had money for one vehicle, bro.
Oh, no.
What? One vehicle in Los Angeles.
Yeah,
how you covering anything?
Yeah, that's gonna be stuck in traffic for 20 hours.
And then it was the logo, right? Getting the logo done. Shout out to DJ Melody's dude who was, you remember them shoes, Creative was it Creative Creations?
No.
And they were fire, yo. Them shoes, I still got a couple pair of them things. But he was the shoe designer. He did this KDAY logo. Mind you, they had already had a logo done, which was super corny, like, and swirly and weird, that the salesperson's husband designed because he's an artistic designer. And I'm like, yo, that's not it. They're like, well, what? Well, do you have something better? We're already gonna get billboards done. But I was like, yeah, hold on, give me a minute.
Right.
Because in my head, I'm thinking I could go draw something up better than this now.
And the thing is, too, it's just like, it's so important because what KDAY represents to the culture is so important. You just can't throw something, you're talking about, this is hip hop. This is, people with blood, sweat, and tears. So you just can't allow the corporate space to just bastardize this thing that they think they can just flip real quick, because there's repercussions for that. And the last thing, you don't want your name to be on that. And that's what,
the people who are running it need to be better plugged into the culture of what they're running.
Right.
That would, you know what I'm saying? That's not the case in places still to this day, but at that time, it was just, that was the fight. That's, I think, what made it really tough to succeed at that moment, because they didn't believe in the brand. They didn't think, you know what I'm saying? Like, they didn't believe in it. Because if you look at now, like, KDAY's rocking now because it went back to what it should be, which is old school hip hop, right?
Right.
Me explaining that to them, they were like, no, it should be hip hop today and back in the day, and we'll play new and we'll play old. And I'm like, okay, you know what I'm saying? Like, I get it, and it could be formulated the right way, but it was just too much influence of like that. And then it went the whole other way with like black talk radio, Michael Based and Steve Harvey, you know what I'm saying? Then that was Roy Laughlin, another radio dude who's culturally not plugged in.
Right.
Or aware. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
so
remember.
Now you've got all these different people coming in that they just trying to get to the bag. And I understand that too. But there's a way to get to the bag and still be tapped into to what, you know what I'm saying, you need to be doing. I felt like that was a spot that I did well, because I understood that the culture is important to what we do. Which is also why I feel like radio is trash right now.
Oh, it's super trash. And I think that's the reason, is because they're not tapped into the culture, nor do they want to be.
But that's karma, right?
Yeah.
That's karma. That's all it is. Like, how long has radio been going? Like, so the beat and all what we talking right now is how many years ago, right? So this is how many years ago now? Now here we are at 2022. For years, this FM space has been caking up off of culture, off of hip hop culture,
right?
And giving back what? Nothing.
What?
They're not giving back with Powerhouse, or they're not giving back with those. Aren't give back. That's for them to make more bread,
right?
To brand themselves better,
right?
Culturally, what are you doing to tap in?
Real talk.
Not doing nothing.
Real talk.
That's why y'all ain't got no money now, because don't nobody care. You selling them everything all the time. You're not. Go back to that community action department. Whose faces they really see in these streets? You know what I'm saying? Who's pulling up to the spots, and who do they have a rapport with at the station? Nobody.
They don't, and they purposely don't do that because they know they will get that work if they really hit these streets. They ain't nobody really rocking with them like that, and so it's easier to stay in Burbank and kick it, and just get at artists. And artists reluctantly go to these stations. They don't got no rapport. That was the one thing that I loved about the beat. It was just like, you can tell like the artists really fuck with like Julio. Like, you see him in the parking lots, they blow one with them, kick it. It was real love. It wasn't like, okay, I want to do an interview because I want to get airplay. No, they fucked with Julio. You know what I mean? Like, they fucked with him and they fucked with you. And so everybody that was there was really, really made an impact. So now you're at KDAY. Who's some of the talent that you brought to KDAY? Because I know you brought Yo-Yo. Who else did you bring to the station?
Yo-Yo. Yeah, Yo-Yo. Pee-wee. Who else was over there? Dang, B. You got me thinking. I know Junebug. Got the homie June Bissell over there. Road Boulevard. Mike Live. I'm trying to think of like the different photos. Yeah, man, it was like, yo, yeah. I think Ice, did I bring Icy Ice in to do stuff with us? Mello. Yeah. Yeah, like it was that, you know, that early crew right there.
Right. And so you bring them in. So now you have to leave KDAY. And what's that story?
So that was because I just got tired, yo. Like they wore me out with the politics of like this and that. I was just done. I'm like, man, y'all halfway listening to me and then go in a different direction. Like, I'm cool. And then the PD at Wild 96 was leaving at that time. Oh man, R.I.P. Preston. Yeah. He was leaving. And so I was like, man, I'll go back there. And they were like, oh, that'll be great. You know, boom, 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 boom. So it was like, okay, cool. And so, oh, did they sell it? No, they didn't sell it the first time. I just left because they launched KDAY. So then we go back. Yeah, so then I go back. I'm doing afternoons, PD, rocking it at Wild, which was super dope because now it's like I'm coming off the KDAY hype and that. You know what I'm saying? So it was just real cool. And then while we're there, then enter the Culture Vulture once again to pump the thing up, which it's interesting now, you know, hindsight being what it is, you see how the business of these things work sometimes.
Right.
To where they came in and they were like, okay, they were in the old man's ear now at this point. You know what I'm saying? Like, because now he's already spent all this money on KDAY.
Right.
So he's strapped.
Right.
He done blew his bag. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do I keep this all going? All right, well, you gotta get this thing up and then sell it. So this was the move for Wild now. All of Wild, this is happening behind me. I don't know these conversations that's going on. I'm thinking, wow, we gonna rock out. We got to really level this thing up. You know what I mean? And they're like, okay, so Chris, we're gonna hire a program director for you to work with. He won't really be a PD. He'll be like a consultant that you can work with. And we're gonna do Spanish and hip hop. And I'm like, and mind you, reggaeton was big at the time. So I'm like, okay, like Daddy Yankee. They're like, oh no, like Aventura. I'm like regional? Like, what are you talking about? Like, oh yeah, it'll be great. Boom, 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 right? So enter this dude, Al Fuentes, who is just coke addict from Florida somewhere that had a favor with a homie, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, then behind the scenes conversations, and I was like, so, and that's where I stepped down, bro, is the PD. And they were like, no, we don't want you to step down. I was like, no, I think it's best.
Yeah.
I think it's best that you have the guy whose vision this is sit in that seat. Because I know this game too, man. Like, you're not going to put me in there and be like, well, you blew it. Gotta go, Chris.
Yeah. You don't want your rep to be dirty, not in the business. And the thing about LA is like, in radio, it's just that it's so aligned to what, like, slightly to the street politics too. And a lot of the corporate people, they want to dabble a little bit in that world. And then when they get bitten, then it not only does it fuck with them, but if you're associated to them, then your name gets grimy out here too. And you don't want to be walking around. Because I know I've heard some Al Fuentes stories, and he caught one. You know, Al caught one. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was hilarious, man. This dude literally he caught the smack.
Yeah,
he went in there. He caught the smack. Like, you did exactly. You taking money under the table. You doing what these dirty folk in radio that messed it all up for everybody does. But you doing it ugly out here in these streets. Like, I'm going to clubs and cats is looking for this dude.
Right.
I'm hosting clubs. They're like, Loos, where's your boy? Hey, first of all, that ain't my boy. No, that ain't my boy.
Right.
Oh, well, he worked with you, man. Where's he at, man? He said he was gonna play the homie's record, and we've been sending him money, and he ain't. I'm like, oh man. So these are the people like y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you can't do it out here. You can't be affiliated with that. So now, you know, this is your radio experience is amazing, and so now you see the underbelly of what this business actually is. You started with the ambition and getting into it, and now you're mature, you're a man in this business. And so for Chris Loos, as a person, as a man, and within your career, at this point, what's your realization and what's your next step, and where do you go in your journey?
Yeah, this is the best, man, right now, because it's like now me, a couple other friends put together a nonprofit organization, iDream Society. So we just pouring into these youngsters, man. That's really, because now they got podcasts, YouTube channels, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, ooh, if we had this, what? You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, for now, it's like, okay, let me empower these next ones that's coming up, because talk your talk from your platforms, like understand the power of your platform. You know what I mean? And that's super exciting, man, for me, because it's like, all right, man, I have fun on my ride with it. You know what I mean? But now, untraditional ways, I'm a big fan of, and that's something that we do with the society. It's just like inspire dreamers, man, and empower. More than inspire, it's empowering them. Right. Like, we got workshops on like building a brand, starting your YouTube channel, starting your podcast, real basic stuff, man, but to give you a good ground, like to just, you know what I'm saying? Like, now do your thing. Now talk your talk, man. You have a platform for it, put it together and articulate that thought.
And that's so sick, because you don't have these, you can do your thing without having the middleman. Like when we were coming up, you had so many naysayers and no, you can't do that. You can be the most talented voice in the room, but if you do something or you say something, your voice is automatically muted. And now you have your own platform and you can be celebrated for uniquely you. And I think that's the journey, because everybody has their own like fingerprint. And I thought that was the dope part about radio. When radio was popping, you saw the personalities, they were allowed to be themselves. And so now everybody's cookie cutter. And I don't think that's the main reason the medium's not popping, because they want you to sound like everybody else. But what you're doing is like, okay, you're giving these kids this voice so they can do them. And I think that's ill as shit, for real.
No, I appreciate it, B. Yeah, because you know what it is, bro. That's what got us, off, man. Like, I can't listen to radio. I don't want to hear the other cat who sounds like the other cat who sounds like the other cat. You know what I mean? It's like,
right.
This feels so burnt to me, man. Like, that's why I appreciate podcasts more. Like, you know what I mean? YouTube channels, like, there's so much great info. Like, I don't need to go to big networks for stuff. I go other places. And if you look at it like, numbers and we're just aware of more now. So you got to look at things different. Like, I mean, if you got, what's the math? Like, say, you don't even have to have no 50,000 fans. Like, if you got 15,000 real engaged folk, right? And you flipping them a product, let's say $100,
right?
Spend $100 with you in a year, right? Yo, that's like 1.5, bro.
Crazy.
15,000. That ain't like, but everyone looks at like, oh, well, you got to have like 30,000 followers and the 500,000, views. And no, you don't. That's hype, yo. Like, you just look at numbers for what they really are. Right. And add it up. Like, it's a different metric to this generation that I'm like, no. Don't get your feelings caught up in these likes and all of that. Like, just stick to, like, is what you're doing right now, like, useful, or is it super loved? Right. Like, if it's useful, it'll get soaked up. And if they love it, they're rocking with it.
Right. No doubt. And that's real. And for you, as we wrap this thing up, like, what's like your craziest or favorite radio moment that you've ever had? I know we've had a couple. I remember we went to a Sean Paul concert, and let's just say reggae music makes the girls do their thing, But we won't tell that story. How about you?
Yo, I love it. You know what I'm saying?
Do we tell that story? We don't tell that story, do we?
No. We don't tell that story. We gonna tell you. Hold on, man. Get that one like 20 years, man.
Okay.
Because when you get older, you could say whatever. You know
okay.
At that point, you and I might just have to sit down on just tell old stories.
Okay.
Then we Gucci. Let me think, man. It's so many, bro. Like you know your boy's journey, man. Anything that you were curious about, like
yeah, I mean,
any
like
point,
any crazy celebrity moments? Did you have Biggie, Pac, Nip? I always like a good Nip story. That's me.
Yo, man. All right, yeah, Nip. Man, that's a special brother, man. I met him as Rolling 60s Nip.
Oh wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like that was it. He wasn't rapper Nip at that time. Not no mixtapes, no nothing. This is before Bullets and everything. Like this is just and he used to call in, bro, to the station at KDAY. I think there's I put it up on my gram. I might need to find that one again. He called in when Damani was in there one time, right?
Shout out to Damani.
Yeah, shout out to Damani. But you know, you LA, dog. So you know that's Inglewood, right?
Yeah.
Inglewood's a very different color over there.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's different. And the cats out here don't understand quite the dynamic of all of that. But for Nip to call in to Damani to give him love on the phone line, and he's calling his Nip from Rolling 60s. You feel me? Like, and it was just like, that was wild, man. And then just to see that brother's growth, man. One of my favorite, seeing him grow from that was dope. Seeing him pull up, we were at this backpack giveaway in Los Angeles, and this dude Nip pulls up in a Fat Burger truck.
Are you serious?
Yo, it was so packed. The whole spot was just packed, right? And this dude pulls the big Fat Burger truck, and him and YG are in the joint giving like burgers out to the kids, like. And I'm like, yo, my man is truly like a superhero out here in this hood. You know what I'm saying? Like he cared, man. Like, and I that's an energy that's missed, man, physically. But you know what I'm saying? I'm thankful for every encounter I had with him. That was a special brother, man.
Yeah. Salute to Nip. And salute to you, my guy, Chris. Yeah, man, such a great contribution to just to everything, and your spirit's incredible, and you keep on building, and so many people that you've touched, and your influence on this business is just, and influence just your spirit is just, like I said, it's amazing, it's incredible, and you continue to do the work for the next generation, and everything that you've done and your contributions, we gotta salute you for, my brother. And you that guy, Chris Loos, my guy. I
appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate you, B. Good looking, man. It's interesting, man. I'm not used to sitting on this side of the, you know what I mean, on the conversation. And I appreciate you, bro. For real, man. You already know.
Yeah, man. Plug the iDream Society. Where can they find you at?
Yeah. You can go to iDreamSociety.com. We got a shirt up there now, yo, B. We got some fire hats coming, dog. So we're trying to get funds together because we're able to do workshops now, but you know what it is, B. We made a t-shirt and stickers go a long way.
Oh,
so right now, you know what I mean? Right now we making the money out of our pocket do what it do. But now it's just kind of, you know, as we're doing more, we realize we could do even more with some bread. So that's where we at, man. And yeah, iDreamSociety.com. Just see what it's about too. Like there's things on there like the hometown cleanup where you don't need no bread, man. Just clean up your block. It's 4 quick steps. It kind of shows you how right there. But yeah, man, just want to empower people, especially these young folk, man, to get out there and really see them dreams through, man. We lucky, B. We got to do, you know what I'm saying? Like a dream, bro. Like we really got to live a dream. And like, that's I can't never take that for granted, bro. So I appreciate you.
Yeah, and salute. Yeah, you doing the work, bro. You doing the work. So my guy, Chris Loos.
Yes, sir.
B.Woods on the podcast. Yes, indeed.